I'm Barb and this is The Font. This is my fourth video and it is the first time that I do not feel like passing out. So, before I remember to be nervous, let's get busy with Burnt Sugar, which is my book of pick actually. I think it's set to be a modern classic. So Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi has left some readers mumbling, meh, I don't know, I don't really get it. They couldn't quite put their finger on why, but the consensus was that it started off okay, but the further they got, the more it befuddled them. Like mercury poisoning, I suppose you'd say. One day you're polishing a hat, and the next day you are having tea with a rabbit. Continue watching and click like and subscribe, and I will tell you why you may be feeling as if you are falling through a dirty rabbit hole as you read this book. The story begins with an unnamed narrator who introduces herself as the daughter of a woman at whose hands she suffered as a child. Just so as you know, the narrator's name is Antara, and she is the daughter of Tara, the shitty mother. But I wanted you to notice that Antara did not say, "My name is Antara." The first thing she wants us to know is that her crap mother has dementia, that the bish had it coming, that memory loss is a kind of get out of jail free card, and now Antara cannot baste her mother in guilt. That first chapter uses an epigraph as a title. I'm going to pin that first chapter because, as you know, epigraph is code for theme, and I do not want to start fossicking about in the underwear just yet. The chapters that follow are chronological, starting 1981 and ending in 2003. Antara recounts her mother's history, weaving her grandmother's anecdotes and her own recollections into an undercurrent, an undertow that fuels and explains what is happening in Antara's present. What Tara did in the past explains why Antara's life progressively decays as the book progresses. If I were to put a bumper sticker on Tara's butt, it would read self-interest. As a teenager, she drinks her beer straight out of the bottle. She is all blue eyeshadow and no bra. She marries a stiff-collared guy whose eyebrows scamper about before they meet in the middle. And she settles down to the business of wearing saris and having a baby. But that cramps her style, and she starts attending an ashram. She was on her way to no longer caring what anyone thought. Even after I was born, she would disappear, dripping with milk, leaving me unfed. Tara leaves her husband and goes to live in the ashram. She takes Antara, who is still very young, along with her. There's a gut-wrenching scene of Antara surrounded by crazy, ecstatic dancers. Poor little Antara needs to do a wee, but Tara just pushes her away. She doesn't look at her, she doesn't listen to her. During her time at the ashram, Tara is the guru's mistress, and then she leaves and becomes a beggar. Then she takes up with a guy called Reza. I don't even exactly know how to describe him. He's a free spirit, an artist type who does whatever he wants. Key thing to remember is that Tara really loves him. Instability, lack of nurture, abandonment, inappropriate behavior, especially sexually inappropriate behavior, form the rancid soup of Antara's upbringing. That rancid, rotten upbringing makes for a tricky book to read because it creates an unreliable narrator that compulsively reenacts her shadow as the book progresses. Unreliable narrators are notoriously difficult to pin down. They often lie and hide truths not only from the reader but from themselves. One way we can start to understand Antara is to think, what kind of nonsense do I have to spin if I've never felt wanted by my mother? An example might be, look at me looking after my sick mum, but don't look too closely. Shadow, and I'm talking about Jungian shadow, is the idea that we repress what we cannot face within ourselves. Disgust, shame, and fear love to hang around in shadow. So another way we can understand Antara is to ask, what does she fear the most? what shames her the most. For example, she was left unfed by her mother as an infant. That is a core early fear that becomes a compulsion to eat when she is older. Knowing that the narrator is unreliable is the key to unlocking the themes. The epigraph chapter pokes about in lots of things, and we can assume some things for sure. Antara's crap mother has early onset dementia. Antara is married to a nice guy named Dilip. Antara had a painful upbringing. But now that we know that Antara is unreliable and hiding things in shadow, a smart punter will look for key themes and weak spots, places where the egoic facade is thin or cracking. Listen to this. Antara finds Tara acting oddly one night. This is a key quote. She is naked and steps back to look at her reflection in the glass. She looks at mine as it appears next to hers, and then back and forth as though she cannot tell the difference. Opposites often resemble each other. As a reader, when I see someone naked and the word throbbing isn't close by, I know that that author is showing me a character that is vulnerable and exposed. When coupled with reflection, I just know that I should pay attention. Technically, this is an insight into Tara's recesses, but notice that Antara calls her doctor about it in the middle of the night. Well, classic weak spot. When I think about Tara and Antara, I think of Alice through the looking glass. On one side of the mirror stands Tara. She goes anywhere and she does anything she wants. And on the other side of the mirror stands Antara, who reflects the consequences of that. In real terms, Antara is a reflection of her mother. She does not have a functional sense of self. She's a reaction to Tara. Personal boundaries go out the window, and Tara happily assumes Antara's identity when the mood strikes her. She is self-serving, and she is a big, fat parasite. This book is just brilliant. It is the kind of innovation that I look for when I think about why a book deserves to win the Booker. It's bloody brilliant, but I am out of time. So bum, it's been a blast. I love the book. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all the new subbies, you beautiful literary people, and ta-ta for now.